And we're live.
Hey.
Hey, buddy, what you doing?
Oh, just sitting here. I
You have a
got
good
back
weekend?
from, huh?
Did you have a good weekend?
It was a frustrating start to the day. I had to go to the post office
Did you
this
have a good
morning,
weekend?
and I think today is the day that they said was the busiest day of the post office. I think because people got to get their packages to the, people who get their packages before Christmas. So today was the first day.
Right.
So I had another appointment. So I thought, well, the post office opened up at 9. So I'm going to get there because it's a busy shopping center. I'm going to get there like 8:30. And the post office is set up where it's like you've got the actual post office, but then you have kind of like the lobby area. I don't know how they all the lobby area has all the post office boxes and stuff. So that door is open 24 hours a day. So people go in there and line up, before the actual post. So I get there like 8:30. And so I was lucky because there was only 2 people in front of me. So I'm standing there for about 10 minutes, and about 8:45, it's like this flood of people come in. There's like 15 people lined up in there. And I'm standing there right after that crowd comes. Just as that crowd comes in, I hear this guy talking real loud, blah, blah, blah. And he's on his phone. And he's like 3 people away from me. And, of course, you're standing in a line, so everybody's, 6 inches away from each other. And he stood there, and he's talking about Bob or whoever it was that they were hanging out with last night. And Bob did this, and sometimes he drives me crazy, and I can't stand this guy anyway. And the thing is, he's not even trying to, like, lower his voice, you know what I mean? He's just like,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And you're in this kind of room that's echoey. And he stood there for the whole 15 minutes, talking about Bob and talking to his friend. And by the time I was done, by the time the door opened, I was like, thank God the door opened so I can get away from this guy with his phone. I got a little tired of hearing about his night last night, and so did everybody else. And it's just like, why is it that, it's not I'm sure everybody's had it happen, but I don't know how many times, I'm standing in line at a drugstore, at the bank, or whatever, and there's that one person on the phone or in a convenience store line, and they're just talking like they're in their living room by themselves. And it seems like, too, they're not even they're talking louder than they would if they were talking to the person standing beside them. It's like,
Well, they have to
because
have
I'm
it
on my
louder.
phone. Oh, because I'm on my phone, nobody can hear me. And it's like, I guess maybe it doesn't bother him, that everybody can hear about his whole conversation, his whole night. But to everybody out there that, wants to just talk away extra loud on their cell phone standing in line, I don't want to hear it. Most people don't want to hear it, except for the dysfunctional people out there that want to listen to what's going on in everybody else's life. But I don't care. And I don't want to hear it, and it's just stressing me out.
I don't think anybody wants to hear it. And if everyone did it, like if you were at an elevator and there's 3 people and they're all on their phones, one person could say, "Oh, well, my conversation, it's not going to bother anyone. It's just one person." Well, it does bother you, but not only that, what if the next person says, "Well, you know what? I can start talking on my phone."
Well,
And the next person's like, "Well, I got to make a call." Then you have a room full of people on their cell phones. What it's called is disrespect. They just simply don't care. They don't care.
It's called cell phone etiquette. And speaking of an elevator, because I live in a high rise and I'm on the elevator all the time, I can't tell you how many times people come in that elevator, and now you're in a little 5x5 box, and they're just talking away. And my favorite is I've been in there with people. Not that they just talk on their phones. Oh no, I gotta hear them talking away. They got it on speakerphone, and they got it blared up. So now you hear this scratchy, blared up voice. Not only do I hear the person's conversation in the elevator, now I got to hear the conversation on the other end of the line too. And because I live up high and they get on at the lobby, it can be quite a ride up if there's 5 or 6 people on. And now, I got to hear what's going on with them. I got to hear the person on the other end of the line. I mean, as many times as we've talked, and we might be on the phone, and maybe I'm going to go down to the store or something. And what do we always do? I always say, I'm getting on the elevator. And you'll say, okay, I'll just talk and you just listen till you're off the elevator. Because I
Right.
always say, I'm on the elevator, and then I never say anything. Because not only do I not, want to be like, I don't know, irritating to everybody else, I don't want everybody to hear my conversations. I guess these other people just don't care. But it drives me crazy, and it just comes down to it sort of reminds me of the last couple of times we talked about people blowing their horns, or or the women screaming at Walmart. It's almost like they're in their own little world and they're not aware that anybody else is around. That's it. It's just me, and I don't care about how it irritates anybody else or anything like that. I just don't care.
Well, like you said, I wouldn't want anyone to hear my conversation. I don't care if I'm talking about, my dog
Right.
that I don't have. I just don't want anyone to hear my conversation.
Well, that's the way I am. I mean, I don't care if, whatever I'm talking about, I'm always conscious that if somebody else is in the room, that they're listening. And believe me, today everybody in the post office, you could tell it was just kind of like people kept looking because I find this all the time. Like I said, it's not that they're just talking. It's like they're talking extra loud. Because obviously, when to these people, when you talk on a phone, you have to bring it up a couple levels because obviously the person is hard of hearing on the other end of the line. So they got to talk extra loud, or maybe they like to bring attention to themselves. I don't know, but all I'm saying is, most people don't want to hear your conversations, and I don't want to hear it. I can remember a number of years ago when I went to dinner with a friend, and it was a place where there was that place down from me has got all the restaurants. And so we were going to go a little bit early. She wanted to go early. So we got there like 5, and it was this place she wanted to try. And it was a real small little restaurant. It only had like 6, 7 tables, little round tables in it. And so we go in there, and because it's 5, nobody was in there. So we went and sat at this table. We're sitting there, and the waiter comes over, and we get something to drink. And a couple minutes later, in walks this family. And I think it's been a long time, but I think they had 2 kids. And they were young kids, like 8, 12 years old, 10 years old maybe. So they sit down at the table, and they hadn't been sitting there a minute. It's very quiet. We're talking just kind of quietly because there's, it's such a small restaurant. Couple minutes after we get in the restaurant, this guy pulls out his little flip phone, because it was a number of years ago, pulls out his flip phone and just starts talking away louder than he would talk to his wife sitting next to him, and just for probably 20 minutes. And so we're the only other people in the restaurant. And the funny thing was, his wife never said, you're in a restaurant. She was sitting there talking to her kids and playing with them a little bit, and the kids were very well behaved. And he's just, talking away to some friend. It wasn't work or anything like that. He's just talking away. So, we went to the restaurant so that we could hear his conversation. Yeah.
Right. And that's why a lot of restaurants, doctor offices, businesses, like, shut your phone, down, put it on mute, shut it off for that very reason.
Somebody could say, oh, it was an emergency. Well, like the guy today came to the post office. If that was, let's say, a business call, emergency call, could you stay outside? Or when you get a call, could you step outside? Or,
I've done that. I've stepped outside.
How many times since we've known each other have I been at line in the drugstore, convenience store, and you've called and I'd say, I'll call you right back. I'm in line. Many times. Many
Yeah,
times. I'll call you
always.
right back. Right.
Anytime you're in line. Yeah,
Right. Or I'll say, hold on a second. I'm about to check
right.
out. That's it.
Because
That's
you
it.
now you have the people. You have people, and you've experienced this. I've experienced this. Um, you're in line at a store, and someone in front of you that's up next to check out is on their phone, and they're making the cashier and everybody else wait while they
Right.
handle that phone call.
Right.
And that's when the cashier should say, step aside, and let the next person in. Because now we have to sit there. I apologize for being hoarse. My voice is hoarse, so apologize for that. But uh, so we have to wait now too while
Well,
they talk before
well,
we get waited.
that's gotten even worse now with texting because in the job I work, where I have customers come in, I have literally seen people walk through the door on their phone and you start to ring up the customer and they're sitting there texting and they look up at you. It's like, that'll be this much. And they'll be like, and then they go back to texting. And it's like, you can't wait. You
So
can't wait 2 minutes when you get a text to go in and pay for your service. You can't wait 2 minutes. It's like I had a woman at at a store. It was actually last Christmas, and it was at a big craft store right by me. And I'm going in there to buy something. I don't remember what. And I walk up there, and she goes, "Hi, is that it for you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's it. This is a couple of items." And she gets a ding on her phone. Her phone's in her back pocket, and she literally whips out her phone and stood there. And I mean, when you're sitting there waiting for somebody, so I'll bet you for probably 45 seconds to a minute texting somebody. And I probably should have gone to the manager right there, and they probably would have fired her. But I just stood there, kind of
see,
rolled my eyes, and the whole time she's just standing there in front of me texting. You know,
see
I
that
was I
no, that's
became oblivious.
unexcusable, unexcusable,
But I
unexcusable.
but I
And
see it but I see it with texting now all the time. It's like they stop. When they're especially people that are, I see it at the drugstore by me all the time. People go up there to buy something, they start texting, and the cashier's like, "Is that it for you?" And they're just texting, and they're like, yeah, that's it." You can't. You have to text just when you're. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I love my cell phone. You and I text all the time. I think texting's great, but it's gotten to the point where it's like, come on. That phone goes off. It's like, oh my God, I've got to respond right away or the earth will end. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, I
I
don't
would
know what's
go,
so important that text has to be answered to where people fall into to water and get hit by cars and knock
oh,
yourself
I've
out on a pole.
I've been bumped into twice by people texting on the
Yeah,
sidewalk in front of the
yeah.
business, and so I don't know. It's
Well,
all.
I want to tell a little story about the Bluetooth. Okay, which is kind of okay. This was several years ago, and Bluetooth. I mean, they were out, but they weren't so popular as they are now, right? So I'm actually in Walmart, and I'm in this aisle, and this younger, tall, muscular guy was kind of in front of me a little bit. You got to kind of picture this because it's really happened, and I hear him talking. So I'm like, "Oh, excuse me," and he's taking these big giant steps, right? I'm like, "Excuse me," and he talks some more, and now I'm fumbling over my feet trying to keep up with him. So I'm not rude to see what he's talking to me about. I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you," and he keeps talking, and I'm like, "Oh crap, he's gonna think I'm ignoring him." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I can't hear you." And he finally just stops and looks at me like I'm crazy, and now I see the Bluetooth in his ear,
Right.
and then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, go ahead," But I mean, I'm stumbling over myself trying to keep up with him to answer him because I think he's talking to me, which is also, I guess rude because, yeah, he's on his Bluetooth. Now he's just talking in the air.
All right.
So
Well,
I'm beside him. I think he's talking to me.
well, sure. I remember when people first started using, and all the microphones are sort of like the earbuds are now. When they first started doing that, you just had the one earpiece and you had the little microphone on the cord. And I remember I was up at the shopping center and I'm walking down the sidewalk and I hear this guy talking as he's coming towards me. He's just talking away, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what's wrong with him. I thought he was just talking to the sky or something. And then finally it just caught me just as I passed by. But see, that was like people weren't using that very much then. It wasn't
Right.
like it was a lot of years ago when people were just more and more people were getting phones and using little mics and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I wear the Bluetooth and you wear the Bluetooth. I know, like, when I've been at work or been, anywhere over at my mom's house or whatever, and and I'll be talking to you, and she'll always look over at me, and now I've just gotten to the habit of I point to the Bluetooth.
You point,
Okay,
yeah.
which is, I mean, because like I've been at work, I've been on the phone at work, and they'll hear me talk, and they're like, "What?" And I have the phone in my hand, and I'll point to the phone and then my ear. It's like, you look like an idiot. You look like an idiot.
When you're on in public and there's people around you and you just start talking. I mean, yeah, I thought you're talking to me. And then you stop and look at me like, what the are you doing, lady?
Right. And most of your Bluetooth are little, or you've got the earbuds with little microphones, so you think that they're just listening to their music or something on their phone, but then they start talking, and you don't know what's going on. But I go crazy with the people that are just, I see it in my business, I see it in the stores where it's like they're just, I guess it comes back to the guy with the phone talking. It's like, he was just talking. This wasn't this was not a business call. This wasn't like, somebody's in the hospital and, or whatever. Just somebody casually talking, and it's like, you don't care that now you're in a public place. You can't hang up for 15 minutes. You're just going to go on talking and everybody's going to hear you. Or just like with the texting, it doesn't, you're standing in line, or you're going to pay for a service that we do, and you can't stop it for 30 seconds while somebody rings you up. That text must be so important.
Yeah.
It's so important that I went out on a date last night, or whatever it is. I mean, what did we do? I mean, I don't want to date myself. And like I said, I love the cell phone. Everybody has cell phone, and they're great. But there was actually a time when you got a phone call, and guess what? When you got home, you got it. Or used to have an answering machine years ago that you would call and then, dial in a code, and you could listen to your message. And then suddenly when we got cell phones, I'm not saying they're great. I am. I'm not saying that they're not great, but what I'm saying is that the world still kept going if you didn't grab that phone that second.
I'd really like to hear a younger person's perspective on this, because maybe that's the way it is out there. And we are from the old school, and we're just, I mean, even if we had cell phones when we were younger, I can't imagine, you get a call and you just kind of hover down and like, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to go outside. And you kind of hover down and go outside. And maybe that's just not the way it is today. Maybe.
Well, it's not, because they're
well, no, I know, but maybe we're, like I say, if we had a younger person's perspective on, no, that's just the way it is. You guys are old school, and get used to it.
Well, it is the way it is, but it comes back to there is still something called cell phone etiquette. There still is things being rude, and there's
Is there
still
though?
things where, yes, rude is rude. You know, we still have to
That
have a
I guess
society
that's
where
what I'm saying. We look
go ahead.
as you're rude as opposed to, hey, you guys, you're just older and this is the way it is.
But
And
that's
so we're not being rude.
no, that's like saying rude is it's the new rude. It's the new world that you're allowed to be rude. Have we developed into a society that it's okay to talk in a public place so everybody can hear our conversations? If that's is that the
But
new world that we live in?
is
Is
it?
it the new
That's my
world that we
question.
live in?
Is
No,
it?
but is it the new world that we live in that text message from Susie or Bob or whoever it is to say, hey, what's going on is more important than paying for an item and holding everybody up at the line? It's okay to be rude? No, that
No,
there's still
it's never
manners.
okay to be it's never okay to be rude. I guess what I'm saying is that the today's phone etiquette, you know? Is it? I mean, um,
Well,
everything is different,
I think that everything is different and you have new technology, but there are still certain things that you have to conform to. There are still manners. There are still being respectful of others. I don't care what the technology is. You still need to be respectful of others. You have these great phones, these computers you're holding in your hand, which is great. I love mine. But that doesn't mean that you have to be disrespectful to others by holding people up in a line, because the new technology is out there and I don't believe that the new people are taught, hey, don't worry about everybody else. You'll bring this up and you can hold everybody up because you have this great technology in your hand. It's okay to be disrespectful to other people. No, no, I'm not going to buy that.
Well, it's like my doctor. I don't know how other doctors are, but my doctor makes you sign an annually paper, a paper with all his rules on it. And one of his rules is if you bring a cell phone into the examining room and you even glance down at a text or I hear it, I will walk out of the room and I will not come back and I will not see you as a patient any longer. That's how stern he is about, cell phones. If you'd rather, like he says, if you'd rather chat with somebody on your phone than hear what your doctor has to say,
I
then
see.
don't come back.
I see one of our listeners says that's the way it is. Get over it. I refuse to get over it because it affects my day. It affected me today. I'm not going to get over listening to Bob's conversation about Mike last night. I'm not going to get over that. It's rude. I was taught to be respectful of others. I had the most amazing father in the world who was tough as nails and taught discipline, but also taught me to have manners and be respectful of other people. And now I'm not going to get over it. And you know
Well,
what?
another,
These people, I go to this drugstore by where I work all the time, and I know the people that work there. They see me all the time, and I've seen them roll their eyes. I've had to deal with customers myself, and you know, I see people get frustrated by this because it's disrespectful. You're in line to pay for something, and you're like, well, now I got to text first. I'm not getting over that. It's called people out there that do that. Get some damn manners. Think about some other people. You're not living in your own. It's a great technology, but guess what? Everybody else is around you. No, I ain't getting over it because I'm stubborn. I know you didn't know that.
well,
I'm stubborn. I'm
yeah.
stubborn when it comes to
And
that.
someone else says, I'll wait till my doctor has an emergency that he misses. Well, I guess there's the difference. If he gets an emergency, that's an emergency. When he's telling you, you know, you're sitting there and he's talking to you about your diagnosis or your medicine, uh, and you think your phone conversation is more important. If that's an emergency, a true emergency, and you would tell him, I'm sure he would understand. What he's saying is, if you're having some kind of chat, texting with somebody, and you think that's more important than what I'm saying as your doctor, then
and you know
leave
what?
it and don't come back. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, if this guy got a call standing in a line at the post office and it's an emergency, or, it's like, hey, I'm broken down. Oh, where are you? I'll come get, okay, that's understandable. I'm talking about these people that just, they just want to just chat away and let everybody else hear their conversation.
Well, and the same viewer, how do you know unless you look? I guess he means, how do you know it's an emergency unless you look at the doctor's office? Well, here we go again. But you and I lived our entire adult life, most of it, and especially our younger years, and there was lots of emergencies, and you had to wait, like you said earlier, until you got home to play that message back.
Right.
So
can you wait 2 minutes?
You just have to wait, and I don't know of any emergency that I missed or my parents missed that was so bad that they couldn't wait until they got the message when they got home.
Well, even then, okay, yeah, you might be out somewhere, may not that emergency hours. We're just talking about wait until you get out of line. Wait 5 minutes. Wait 2 minutes.
Wait till you get out of the doctor's office. I mean,
right. Wait till you get out of the doctor's office. That's what I'm saying. It's a great technology. I love that. I can talk to somebody when I have to, or somebody needs to get in touch with me. They can. I'm just talking about having your, general, conversations because you're bored or whatever, or your friend wants to talk to you, and you're 6 inches from somebody, and you bring it up 2 notches in the level of your voice. I just don't want to hear. To me, it's just called be respectful. That's all.
Well, and a few months ago, I was leaving my doctor's office, and he's on the 3rd floor. And when you go out of his office, through his waiting room, you go to this hallway that leads to other doctors' offices and the steps and everything. Anyway, so I walk out after my appointment, and there's a woman out in the hallway, and she's on her cell phone, and she's like, I mean, just almost screaming, and she's like, I can't believe how long he effing takes in there. Why don't he just let me go in and get my medicine and let me go out? Why do I have to effing wait for all these effing people to go in, and he takes so much effing time with them? And now, back in the day, I probably flipped her over the balcony, but, I just hobbled along. But at my next visit, I told my doctor about it. And he goes, if you would have come back in here and told me, he goes, I would have made sure that woman never came to my office again. So here you have a patient outside, F this, F that, F this about her doctor right in front of his office. I mean, how much more disrespectful can you be? Right. And here comes a patient, me, out the door, and then she says it even louder. Yeah, see, he takes so effing long with his patients. Well, that was me. So, I'm sure she was a bitch to begin with. But yeah, I mean, I would say he had every right, if he'd known, to stop that woman from ever coming back there. Because not only was she degrading him, she was degrading his patients that were coming out that could hear, and she didn't care.
Right. And I think he brought up the best point earlier is, when you said, like, when you're standing in line talking to somebody, what if everybody else got a phone call at the same time? Can you imagine 5 people standing in line at a drugstore or convenience store, and every person's just talking away on their phone? I mean, it sounded like you were at a convention.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what a younger person says to that. I mean, if you're in line at Walmart getting your groceries, and 5 people up there are talking on their phone and not stepping up to the cashier, now you have to wait.
Right.
You have to wait for all those emergencies. I doubt it.
Right. I never heard anybody talking on their phone that's standing, a few inches away from me, that it was an emergency. They're just talking. they're just laughing, they're talking. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, I'm at, wherever right now. Yeah. Oh, maybe I'll be over later. Yeah. Who's coming over? You can't wait until you get outside. I don't know. Maybe because we're old school, but I still think it's a matter
Well,
of.
what about it says what about the people talking to someone next to them? That's totally different. I mean, you're not yelling, you're
No,
not,
no.
raising your voice, you're not holding up the line, you
Right.
know.
And you know
So
what? And I
it's
don't.
almost like, we're used to listening to the radio in the car. That's not distracting. But if you start talking, to someone, your mind is more distracted.
Well,
But
sure.
yet you can listen to the radio and not be distracted. But if you talk, that can distract you because you're trying to, hear what that person said, comment back, you
Right.
know. So one is distracting where we've always done it and one isn't.
Right. Well, I heard I think a guy did a study when you're talking about being distracted in the car. This was a few years ago, and I believe he did the study in Australia. And what he found was that he was saying even then, that people talking on a Bluetooth in their car or holding the phone up to their ear, there's no difference. What it comes down to is there's a certain decibel or whatever that you're listening to that phone with, and that it's actually distracting you. It's not like someone talking to you, just having a conversation as you drive down the road. There's a different sound that comes in, and it creates you to have to concentrate more on each word that they're saying, and that distracts you. That there's a difference between
Well,
that
yeah.
person on the phone, even if you're wearing a Bluetooth, or even if you're. Now, I don't know now that they have so much of this that you just hear it through the speakers in your phone. But I know when he was saying that it didn't matter if you were wearing a Bluetooth, holding the phone, that didn't matter. It was the level of sound and the type of sound that came through that phone that distracted you, as opposed to somebody sitting next to you in the car just talking. I, I don't know. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, people standing in line, they don't seem to have any problem letting everybody else hear what they're saying. They're not even talking like they're talking to somebody standing next to them. I don't know why they are. And here's another thing: everybody that I've seen doing that, and I'm trying to think of people in the elevator, people in the convenience stores, numerous times. It's always been guys. It's always been guys. I've heard women talking on the phone, but they talk quieter. It's always been the guys. I don't know why.
I'm trying to think. Except for a lady once texting in a Chinese restaurant a few years ago. Yeah, it's always been guys with me
No,
too.
well, I mean, women. I mean, men and women are all texting like crazy now. But I'm talking about as far as like talking loud and like that, standing in line, talking in the elevator. Anytime I've been in the elevator here, at, at my high rise, it's I've been in the elevator where women are talking, but they kind of talk quietly. But it's the guys come in there and they just talk like they're completely alone in the elevator. And then there's two different people. Like I said, these people I've been there, and it's always these two different people, and they've always got their phone on speakerphone, and they've got it turned up full volume. So they're just holding it way down, and they're not even holding it up to them. And so, like I said before, now I get to hear the person's conversations in the elevator, and I get to hear the person's conversation on the other end. But see, they just don't seem
But
to.
see, look what we do though. When you get on the elevator and you're like, okay, I'm on the elevator. Oh, there's someone coming in. Like you said earlier, you stop talking, and then I'll say, well, you know what? I'll just talk, and you can
Exactly.
listen. But see, you stop talking, and
And yeah.
that's respect.
Well, and it's respect, and also I guess I'm just a private person. You know, if my if you call me And let's say I'm over at my mom's house or something, and if somebody else is there, let's say my sister's in town, okay, and I'm talking, I kind of step up and walk into the other room. Not because I don't want to hear her. It's not even because it's like, oh, I'm having this conversation that I don't want her to know what I'm saying, some secret. It's just that I guess I'm just a private person. This is my conversation. You're not calling me to share it. If I'm going to do that, I'll put it on speakerphone, let everybody in the
Right.
house hear it.
Right.
That's just me. But I guess, people don't want to, they don't care. They just don't care that everybody else hears it. But maybe it's me, but maybe they're just different. But I could tell today it was kind of annoying everybody. Some people were just, they were standing there waiting in line, texting on their phones. Other people kind of kept looking, be like rolling their eyes. It's like, So I guess it doesn't bother some people, but it sure bothers me. Drives me nuts.
Well, and Mo Dozer asked earlier, what about vlogs? Is that disrespectful? Now, I don't fully understand a vlog except to know you film your daily activities all day. You're filming it. Now, if you're holding some kind of camera, it's dangerous, I would think, to you and to the people around you, because you're watching that camera of yourself as opposed to what you're supposed to be doing. Now, if the camera is just on you, maybe you have some kind of pocket device camera or whatever, that's totally different. But yeah, if you're holding your camera and you're filming all day long, first of all, I don't know how you'd be productive at work. But yeah, no, you can't walk around filming yourself all day.
Well, if you're just filming yourself for whatever reason, you're not. I mean, let's say you're standing in a line and you're holding your phone up and you're filming yourself. You're not really bothering anybody else. You just got a camera pointed on yourself. That I don't see how that's really bothering anybody. It's you yourself are distracted because you're too busy filming yourself. And yeah, it's the same thing as texting. If you're filming yourself all day and you come and you're in line and the cashier is like, excuse me, excuse me, some people are waiting, that's different. But I think that's different than people that are talking so loud everybody else has to hear them.
When you are holding up any type of line, that's when it should be okay for the cashier to ask you to step aside. We all know that B&B, they have some pretty stern people working there. And I was in there once and I was behind a man, again, a man, and he got up to the B&B, one of the women, and he's still looking down texting. Now she stood there for a little while and he kept on texting. And she finally said, I'm not going to wait on you until you put that phone away. And then he looks up at her, he puts the phone away. Right. And I think that's how everyone should be. I'm not going to wait on you, and you need to step aside.
Well,
if you're going to look at your phone.
When I was in that store and that girl had a pocket like that and just totally ignored me, I mean, we were in the middle of it because she said, is anything else like you need? I said, no. She actually scanned the first item and then got the phone call and just stopped. Okay. And I should have, I think I should have gone to the manager. She was probably 17, 18 years old. And that's what, I know, but that's the world she's growing up in. It's okay to text anytime. And then what you were talking about, is this the new way? It's still no, because we have to have certain things of etiquette in our society that,
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, but is it the new way? I mean, that it is acceptable by more people than not.
If rude and disrespect is the new way, find me a mountaintop. That's where I'm going. I don't want to be here, seriously. Because like I said, I was raised in very, very strict but wonderful parents that, my dad was very strict about things like, not phones, but very strict about being loud in public, about you stand in this line, and you be quiet. I was taught when I was 6 years old. I've told you, when we would walk up to a door, I was 6, 7, I can remember, and my dad would say, "Open the door for your mother," and I'd pull the door open, and I learned very young there to open the door for people, and I still to this day, especially women, I can't get into a car if I'm giving somebody a ride home from whatever, and I walk around the car and open the door for them because I just feel, especially like with women, I'm that old school. It's rude, my dad said, I'm teaching you to be a gentleman. And I remember when I was in high school, I went to that old private school the last couple of years, and we didn't have buses. We had, everybody would find people who had a car and they would get rides or whatever. Their parents would bring them, and I had a car. And I used to give this one girl a ride to school every day. And I remember there was this girl there with her boyfriend, and I walked around and I opened the car door for my friend that I was giving a ride to, and the other girl was like, "Oh wow, wish my boyfriend did that for me, and she's not even your girlfriend." I said, "It's just the way I was taught." But see, my dad, instilled that in me when I was very young, and the same thing with other kinds of respect for people and not being, trying not to be rude. I think it still comes down to, being respectful and being aware that other people are around you. Like I said, last time about blasting your horn. You might be mad, but I don't think everybody on the city block wants to hear that horn blare for 20 minutes. But that person doesn't care about the other people around them.
Right. Do you remember a couple years, not too long ago, a couple years ago, it was in a movie theater, and the one guy in front of the other guy was on his phone texting.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy told him, he leaned in up and told him, the light, it's just distracting here, could you not be on your cell phone? And the guy said something nasty to him and kept on talking. And the guy told him again, can you put your cell phone away, or I'm going to go tell up front. Well, the guy stood up and turned around and shot him to death because he told him, the guy that was asking him to quit got killed. Cost him his life.
I thought it was the guy who was texting got killed.
Was it? I thought it was the guy that.
No, the guy. The way I remember it was the guy asked the guy to stop, and the guy got up or something like, what's the matter? And the guy shot him. And he was texting. It was his babysitter that was texting. But even then, if the guy says, that's distracting to me, then get up and just walk into the aisle of the theater or whatever. If it's an important text like that, maybe from your babysitter or whatever, then just, if it's bothering somebody, the guy said it's bothering me, then just get up for a minute and walk,
But there again, a life was taken.
Right.
Over a cell phone and texting. It's like a life was taken. So my point though is you can't even, almost say to someone in front of you, "Hey, could you go out there and talk, or could you step aside and talk?"
Oh no, you can't say anything.
You don't know if you're going to get your head blown off.
No, you can't say anything anymore. So that's why I'm saying it's like, that's why, it drives me crazy because I'd like to be able to say to that person, what is it that important? Can you just keep the line moving? Do I really want to hear you? I would have loved to have said to that guy today, turn around and say, "I don't think everybody we want to take a vote. Does everybody want to hear what you did last night? Does everybody?"
That's what I'm saying.
I'd like
to
say
that.
No,
can't do it.
I don't know if the guy's caring or not, or the guy just comes and stomps me into the ground. I don't know.
How many people are carrying, and you know what? You just embarrass them. They could look at it like, you just embarrassed me, and you kill you. So you almost have to take it. You have to take all this stuff, that people dish out today, because so many people are carrying and they're on the edge. And
well, they're putting me on the edge.
Well, yeah, but you don't tell them what to do. How dare you tell them what to do?
No. Well, that's another because they're in their own. This is my world. It's nobody else's world. I own this world. And that's why I'm allowed to do all these things that are bothersome to everybody else, is because I'm in my own little world. Nobody else is around me. When I come up and I'm texting or I'm talking on my phone and I've got to pay for something, I'm in my own little world. I'll get to the, paying for this, when my little world here on my phone or my text is over with.
Or what are you talking about, old man, or old woman? Then you get blamed that, you're just old. And that's why you don't understand things, because you're old. And maybe we thought that way about our parents on certain things, They just don't understand, And
well,
so I'm sure if you would say
sure.
something, it would just be, oh, you're too old.
Well, no, I don't think you're ever too old to respect. I don't think you're ever too old.
No, I'm saying how the other person.
I know how that. Yeah, I know that. Oh, somebody like that is talking really loud on the phone and everything. You say anything to them, they're gonna be really offended, because they're not thinking like you and I would. I don't want to bother everybody else. I don't want people to hear my conversation, or this is, I don't want to be disrespectful. So when you say to them, hey, nobody wants to hear your conversation, now they're immediately like, what? I wasn't bothering anybody. I'm just having a conversation here. Because remember, I'm in my own little bubble. And, nobody else exists around me but me. It's I mean, I don't know. I guess it's like you said, it's something we have to get used to. It's a new technology, but it doesn't mean that, I'm going to like it. I don't like it.
Well, and, it's going to get me started, but speaking of sexual harassment.
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard about that lately since the last few hours.
Oh, well.
You can't turn on the news without it.
Another, celebrity, Chef Mario Batali, who he is.
I didn't know until I heard that he was charged with or that he was accused of that.
Well, I think if you saw him, maybe you'd recognize, like, oh, wait, he pulls his hair straight back into this little ponytail. You don't know. Anyway, but he's a co-host on the Chef. I'm sorry, on the Chew, and he has a cooking show on ABC. But anyway, he's lost his show, both shows. The Chew asked him to step down until they investigate. 4 women have came out that he groped them. And here's another famous person that have lost their livelihood, lost everything. And it goes, here we have our president that's still president.
Right. And I think people are bringing that out. I think it was Megyn Kelly. What did she do? Did she do the Today Show?
Yeah, she had. Yeah.
Because people are thinking that right now. They're like, wait a minute. Okay, we elected it, but you're asking all these people to step down, and nobody's asking the president to step down. And, I think that, that needs to be brought out more. You can't ask. I'm not saying it's right. And I'm all, I'm in defense of the women all the way. But you can't ask one person to step down as a senator, or ask one person to drop out of a race because of all these allegations. And then you had all these allegations, elected the man president, and then, everything's fine now. His allegations from before don't matter now. Now he's president. I mean, doesn't matter.
Well, it needs to, and there are some Republican senators coming out now and asking Trump to step down. But it takes more than asking, and it takes the Congress to use the 25th Amendment, which they're not going to do. They're not going to do. But we have all these people, and there's going to be more, and there's going to be more shocking people like Matt Lauer that I found so wholesome and
right. I think everybody did. I think everybody was shocked at that.
Right, and they're not like NBC. It took them one day to fire Matt Lauer. It took ABC 1 day to fire Chef Mario. And it's like there's being examples set out there for everyone except Donald Trump and Roy Moore, who may be the next senator of Alabama.
No, we're developing.
And not only his, with Roy Moore, who's running, we'll know tomorrow if he's the next senator of Alabama, but not only all of his sexual allegations, right? This man is a bigot. This man actually said the United States was better off when we had slaves. To think that this man could be in our Senate tomorrow.
Well, I think if you knew what a lot, I think if you knew what a lot of these politicians really felt behind closed doors, I think we'd be really shocked at some of the comments that were probably made behind closed doors. And then
I know what they think. I know what these rich white men think. Yeah.
Well, they go behind closed doors. Thing of a politician is to come out and tell everybody what people want to hear, but then their actions, show just like this man. I mean, I can't. It seems to be something about men in power.
But I'm saying they lose their jobs before I even hear that they were accused. That's how fast. Matt Lauer and Chef, Batali lost his job before I even knew they were accused. And yet we have all these men in the Senate and the Republican Party that are backing this president. They're sitting back and letting this man, rule our country in whatever disgusting, stupid manner he chooses.
Well, it will amaze me. It will amaze me. Hey, country elected it, not by popular vote, but the country through our democratic process elected this man. But it amazes me every day when all of this stuff was brought out during the campaign. All of the comments, I mean, come on, the man's been a celebrity for years. He's been on radio shows, talk shows. He's made all these comments on microphone and on camera, and we still say, oh, it's okay. We'll have somebody that makes these comments about women, degrades them, made a comment about his own daughter that he'd sleep with her,
right?
If he wasn't her daughter, has an Access Hollywood tape talking about how because I'm famous, I can do anything I want, how I wanted to, sleep with this other woman and did everything I could to try to get her to sleep with me, while I believe, I'm not sure, you probably know better than me, that he was married at the time.
They were both married at the time.
Right.
And he was married to Melania.
And all of these things, but you know what? People say that's okay. We still want him as president. But now when you hear about all these other people, it's like, that's not okay. That's not okay. Why is it not okay now? And it was okay when he was running. And why is it okay now that he's the president that he still has all of these allegations? The allegations didn't go away. That tape didn't go away. The video of him making these comments and all of the stuff on radio shows, none of that went away. It's still out there.
Well,
but it's okay. It's okay because he's the president now. I don't understand. I don't understand where people are coming from.
Well, when the 3 women came out on Megyn Kelly, and then a 4th one is actually having court proceedings against him. when when Trump's press secretary was asked today about, these women coming out again and why is he supporting Roy Moore, her ignorant answer was, the short of it was, the people spoke when they elected him. Well, the people didn't speak because, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes, but the people spoke. That's your answer. You know what? Do you remember when Hillary Clinton during the campaign called his followers deplorables?
Right.
Well, they are. Probably 95% of his base. They're uneducated, ignorant, in my opinion, ignorant rednecks. That whatever he says, like when he was campaigning, if you elect Hillary, she's gonna take away your guns. Now you have all these rednecks. Oh, she can't take away my guns. I ain't gonna let her take away my guns. Instead of educating yourself, to say she can't take away your guns. It's called our Second Amendment. She can't, but see, he says it, they believe it. And I want to say this. The reason I bring it up mostly is a few days ago, there was something posted on Facebook. And it was where Celine Dion, the singer, it said that she was on a radio show or talk show. And she said, I don't believe in the flag anymore. I can't look at the flag anymore. I don't feel good about this country anymore. And I'm like, really? So I looked it up. And any of the research that I found on Celine Dion saying that said she did not say it. It was just some of that, crazy news they put out there sometime about famous people. And she didn't say it. There was no documented tape or recording where Celine Dion said that, right? Celine did it. Okay, anyway. I'm saying Celine Dion. Okay. All right, but so I started reading all the comments on that. And there was actually someone I know that would be nameless, of course, that commented on, let her leave the effing country if she don't feel that way. I mean, if she feels that way, F her, and so many people just, kill her, take her back to Canada in a box. I mean, and so the person that I knew that had commented, because it was comments from all over the country. It wasn't just Facebook. And so I commented on it. And, I was trying to tell her, it's not true. Anyway, long story short, this person that I know pretty well, we started going back and forth and on it. And she was saying that, Donald Trump was sent to us from God, God sent, and he's the best president we've ever had. He's done more for this country than any president has done in his first year. So I asked this person, I'm like, you know what? I love to be educated. Just tell me what Donald Trump has done for this country. I love to learn. Her response was, it'd take me all day and all night and tomorrow to tell you what he's done. That means I don't know what the hell he's done. I'm just going by what he says. Then she proceeded to tell me to quit watching every channel on TV, every channel except Fox, because every news channel on TV is being paid off.
Well, yeah, didn't you know it's a conspiracy? Didn't you know that?
But what's really, I guess, amazing to me is this woman who's in her 60s has always been a what do you call diehard Democrat. And when she stopped being a Democrat is when Barack Obama first started running. That's when this diehard Democrat became a Republican. Do you know why she became a Republican when Barack Obama started running? Because he was black.
Color of the skin, sure.
But when I was doing this back and forth with her and tried to pull any information she had, like she said, Obama and Hillary Clinton, they ruined this country. Well, I'm not real sure how Hillary Clinton ruined this country, being that she was never president. So I asked her about that. Tell me what they did. Tell me what Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton did to run this country. Oh, that would take her all night and all day too. And my point is, this uneducated, redneck, racist, these are the people, 95% of them, these are the people that have voted for Trump and are sticking by Trump.
Right.
If he says it, it's true. I won't research it. I won't check it out. Build that wall. Who's going to pay for it? Nobody.
Okay. Yeah. I don't see Mexico paying for it.
Right. Is it Mexico? Okay. Everybody else who was the least bit educated knew at that time Mexico was not paying for that wall. Oh, Mexico even said we're not paying for the wall.
I was going to say.
But see, they just believed it. Or Hillary's going to take your guns. Well, they ain't taking my guns. What do they think? Like Hillary's going to go door to door? Right. Take your guns? So, deplorables. When Hillary Clinton said that, I gasped because I thought, oh my God, you should know better, as a seasoned politician, not to say that. But you know what? It was true. They are deplorables and they're uneducated and they don't want to be educated. And these are the people that still rally around Trump. But the savior in all this is we don't see on a daily basis the millions and millions of people that know what Donald Trump is, that knows how bad he is. Hopefully they're going to get out and vote in 2020 if he runs again. But they are deplorables, and this one person that I'm talking about proves it. She was just pure ignorant. Fox News said it. Trump said it. Fox News said it. Fox News said it. And everything that she told me was literally out of the mouth of Donald Trump or someone on Fox News. And these are the people that voted for Trump. You couldn't ask her an intelligent question because she's not an intelligent person. So when I ask you to give me, what Trump has done in this past year, and you tell me it'll take me all day and into the next day, that's an ignorant answer.
Well, see, like you and me, I listen to a couple radio stations that tell news or have people on there that you don't see network news. And one show I listen to, they'll be talking about things that 2 years later, the network news starts to bring it up but my point is that I listen to different ones, and now because I cut the cord on my cable recently, I can't get Fox, which is fine. But I've known people who watch Fox, and they'll say,
I've watched Fox a lot.
I know, but the people that watch Fox and they go, I only watch Fox because I want to get the truth, and they're the only ones that tell the truth. The thing is that you take somebody like Fox, and I used to watch it with you when I could watch it. You would never, when Barack Obama was on there, you would never hear a single, good word about him. He could have run out into a lake and saved someone from drowning. And, Fox News would have said, well, that woman wouldn't have drowned if he had passed this law that had done this so that lake didn't exist anymore. Anything, and yet the president, and then they would refer, and then they would get people on there that would bring up Bush, and they would say, oh, we're going to go in the past and talk about George Bush. Now, from the little bits that I've seen, now what do? They spend their whole time talking about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. I'm sorry,
Right.
I thought you guys weren't talking in the past. The thing is people that watch that, just one, I'm not comparing that show to a country like North Korea, but North Korea has their own state television. And so they control every single thing that's on TV. They have their own internet that people over there don't even know about Facebook because they don't want
Right.
everything is totally controlled. So if you're watching, nothing but Fox News as far as a political type show, my mother watches Fox News and she watches the nightly news too to get the stories. But as far as political, she'll watch Fox News. And if that's all that you watch, and they say this about a certain person, and you never hear any other story from any other news network or anybody that's going to get on there and be, let's say when Barack Obama was president, you're never going to hear they're going to knock him down for doing this, and you're never going to hear the other side of it. And if they do get somebody on there who opposes what they say, they don't let them say a word, or they say two sentences and then they just start talking. Well, if all you do is watch one, network show, well, how are you supposed to know that there's any other thing out there? There's no way to know. It's like being in North Korea. If you just listen to their television, listen to and be on their internet, and they control it, you know nothing else about what's going on.
Right.
So
Exactly.
when they talk about okay, something about Trump, and it's all positive, and that person that only watches Fox News, that's all they can know. They don't have anybody.
Right. They're the closest to propaganda.
Yeah.
And an example of that is when Trump announced that he was moving our embassy to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is the capital, he said, of Israel. Now, the other news channels, they showed, thousands of people out in the streets in Israel rioting very violently against this. I don't know the reasoning behind it. I don't know our reasoning why we moved our embassy, but we're going to move it. But they were against, Trump moving the embassy and it being, and Jerusalem being called the capital of Israel. Okay. And they're reporting, these people are up, they're rioting, they're upset, Now, I go to Fox later on in the day, just to see what's going on. Fox is showing the same rioting in Israel, right? Very violent rioting. And they literally just said, Palestinians or whatever are rioting today in the streets of Jerusalem. Never one time did they even hint at why those men and women were rioting in the streets of Jerusalem. Not one hint of it. So they don't even want to say they're rioting because Trump is moving our embassy, to Jerusalem.
Well, do you remember when during his campaign, I believe it was during his campaign, maybe, I'm almost sure it was during his campaign, and he was talking somewhere, and there were all these people, I forget where it was.
Who was it? Who did you say it was?
When Trump was campaigning, and he was someplace, and all these people were out rioting, and he stood there and said, yeah, we have a few people out there, not a big crowd or anything like that. And I think it was CNN was showing there were several thousand people out there rioting, right? And Trump was standing up saying, there's a few people, not a big deal. Fox was covering his speech. Never once showed the crowd out there.
No.
Never once showed it.
And another example, he was at a rally once. I forget if it was, when he was running or after, because he still rallies. But he kept saying, there's thousands of people waiting outside to get in, and we have no room for them. So I don't know if it was CNN or MSNBC. They purposely okay, let's take a camera out there, and they were showing us live, and there was nobody waiting to get in. Nobody. But inside, talking to his base, whoever's listening at home, there's thousands of them waiting out there to get in. That is the closest thing to propaganda. Trump, that's why all of Trump is don't listen to any media except Fox. Just listen to what I say and what Fox says. Come on, isn't that the closest this country?
And you know what? If you want to support him, fine. I mean, that's why we live in this great country that we have the right. You and I can sit here and we have that freedom to talk about this. We have a freedom to oppose, and make our own
I have
choices.
a right to say most of you are.
But my point is that it comes down to what we were talking about. Educate yourself. Don't sit there and if you want to believe what Fox has to say or some other conservative radio station or whatever, but you know what? Take a few minutes, take an hour a day, or if you listen to it, every day, take a little time every other day and listen to something else. Because I don't care if it's political or whatever it is. If you only listen to one side of anything, it's no different than you being really, let's say you and I had a big argument, right? And you go and you tell your friend whoever all about the argument. And maybe you didn't really tell it quite the way it was. Okay? You left out. I know you would never do this. I know that. But I'm just saying, for an example. So you decide because you're angry, you're going to throw in a few other things there that maybe I said or did, which I didn't do. Because you want to make your point to your friend. Okay? Now, she never gets to, or he never gets to hear my side of it. This happens every day with people. So guess what? That person saying, oh my God, no, he did that. He said that. Oh, what a horrible person. And I'm sitting there going, oh, wait a minute. Don't you want to hear my side of it? Oh, no, I'm not going to hear your side of it. I've already heard her side of it. That's all I need to hear. That's exactly what, something like that station is doing. It's the same thing. You only want to hear one side of it.
Right. But Trump put it out there from day one. Fake news. If they say it about me, it isn't true. Just listen to me. And that's what his base, his followers are doing. And that's exactly what this person I was talking about earlier. Everything that she commented was out of Trump's mouth. He gets up at every rally and says, I've done more for this country than any president their first year. Okay, he's done zero. He's passed about 58 bills that most of them were already bills. He just prolonged them. Some by Bush, some by Obama, but that isn't law. That isn't changing anything. Last week he passed a bill where on the 11th or what was it, or the 8th, it was we're going to have Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. Okay, that's a very nice thing, but it's not a law. It's nothing that he's done. It's no legislation. The man has passed zero legislation in his first year, but you have someone who listens to him and says he's done more than any president has ever done. See, I'm saying it's the closest we get to propaganda. It's the closest we get to a man that's trying to be a ruler and not a president. Right. When he comes out and says he would like to have the FBI, okay, and the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States investigated. Are you serious? I mean, I don't know if people, really can wrap their mind around that or not, but when you're telling the top, officials of this country, that work for this country, that the FBI needs investigated. I don't know if so many people realize how scary, how frightening that is. When you tell the country our Central Intelligence Agency needs investigated. Well, those are the two organizations, buddy, that are going to keep you in line. And so when you investigate them or you pull them down to where they're not trusted anymore, you become more and more like a Hitler.
Well, Mojoza wrote, "Welcome to North Korea." Well, you know what? If you keep, restricting reporters,
well, no, wait,
everything.
I think he meant that as because we were comparing ourselves to North Korea, and I think what he's saying is, welcome to North Korea, because we are getting somewhat like North Korea.
Well, that's what I started to say. When you start restricting reporters, and trying to, do things, all the things you were just talking about. I'm not saying we're not like North Korea, but you want things done exactly the way you want people to hear them. And that starts to get very scary. I'm not saying we're like North Korea, thank God, but it starts to get very scary when propaganda
wants us to be like it.
When propaganda is put out there like that, and then nothing. That's what I'm saying. When people watch one thing, you can believe whatever you. If you want to believe what they say on Fox, if you want to believe what they say on MSNBC, that's our right. That's our choice. But when certain things are put out there and you listen to one show that is going to be, behind the president all the way, doesn't matter, and against, the Democrats all the way, no matter what they do, then you're setting yourself up for propaganda. And if you want to believe that, but you know what, it comes back to educate yourself, listen to both sides, then make an educated choice. But when I hear people say, I only listen to Fox News because they're the only station that tells the truth. Well, that's being brainwashed right there. That that network has sat there, and not only what I love about them is they get on there and they have a lot of very intelligent people that have worked on that show and have anchored those shows. And you take somebody like they get on there and they talk about family values and morals and all this stuff because we're a conservative. We get up there and we talk the conservative ideas. And yet you got the CEO, sexual harassment. You've got Bill O'Reilly, fired, sexual harassment. You've got Megyn Kelly, put out a book, sexual harassment. And what was the other one who sued Fox for sexual harassment?
Gretchen Carlson.
Right. Yeah. And I don't hear that from these other shows, MSNBC or CNN. How come this show that talks all about the conservative ideas and conservative ideals are the ones that are all getting up there, and they're the one, that shows had more, people that are being sued that work on that show, but they're the ones up there talking about, how good we are.
Well, I think the difference not only in shows, but especially in the Senate, you have, probably just as many Democrats that are out there having affairs, sexual harassment. It's not a one-party thing. But the huge difference is Democrats will not sit on this throne and judge everybody else and talk about, all these family values. And yet Republicans, they're so judgmental, and yet they're the ones, that are doing those things themselves. And so, just like with Fox, I'm not saying MSNBC might not come out tomorrow and have to fire, well, NBC did fire a few people. It was Matt Lauer, NBC, but it's just that they're not the judgmental. They're not always talking about other ones. And then, where Republicans and Fox, they're always trying to play this wholesome family guy, and they're sitting there doing the same thing. And I really want to respond to Joe's response. Okay, because it says, so what you're saying is both CIA and FBI are 100% doing what they should do and should not be watched for wrongdoing simply because it's the FBI. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we have a president that when he was elected appointed Mr. Comey as the FBI director. Okay. And as soon as Comey started investigating Trump and his family and Trump's circle, he fires him. Right? He replaces him with Mueller, who at the time Trump was saying, oh, Mueller is the best guy. He's the greatest guy, which nobody has ever disputed that Mueller wasn't a great guy. Now, because you, Mr. President, and your family and your circle of people are being investigated, okay, now you want to turn it around and say, oh, because they're investigating me and my family for Russia ties, you're not worried. If he could fire Mueller right now, he would fire him. He knows if he does, that's going to look horrible. And what other president fired people as soon as they started getting close to his investigation? Richard Nixon. So no, it's not that the FBI and the CIA is, perfect. It's that our president wants rid of these people, and he wants them disgraced as liars because they're investigating him for Russia ties.
Well, I do believe that it was the president during his campaign when Comey decided to investigate Hillary Clinton, who said, oh, the system is working now. The system is working. Then, because they were investigating him or investigating Hillary Clinton. Now suddenly they're investigating him and the people involved in his campaign. Now suddenly the FBI needs to be investigated. But before, the FBI was great and the system is working according to the president the way it's supposed to work because it was in favor of him. And then as soon as it turns not in favor of him, now they need to be investigated.
And
I believe everybody needs to be looked at and made sure that people do what they want to do. But that's, I think, what we're saying.
Well, and him and his team of people, several, too many, who he has fired. Okay, these people are coming out and pleading guilty. Okay, they're pleading guilty. Okay, to the FBI. So how is this investigation, by the FBI? You're wrongdoing. You should be investigated yourself. When Trump's own people are pleading guilty.
I haven't, and I don't follow. I like politics, but I don't follow it as closely as you do. But it seems to me, as overseeing it all, and I said it to you before, I've never seen a president be in office where majority of the talk is not about political changes. It's not about making new, not about passing that. Yes, the networks talk about the different things that are up for vote, the tax law, Obamacare. Yes, they talk about that. But the majority of the time on things like CNN, which is supposed to be more neutral, is about, oh, he did this, he said that. his team's being investigated for this. They're being investigated for that. He said what? He tweeted what? The man is saying what? He's acting how? You know? I mean, it's all about how this man is acting and saying and what he, comments he's making. It's not about what he's doing as president. It's all about got somebody there that is turning everything upside down. All these people, I mean, you have scandals in politics, you have scandals in presidencies, but my God, all this stuff started before he was even president, and it's been nonstop.
Well, and how do you say all these news channels are fake news and don't watch them when all they're reporting on is a clip of something that Trump said that came out of his mouth or a tweet, that he tweeted. How they can't make that stuff up,
No.
So it just keeps going though. Every day there's something new because Trump is making it something new.
Right. No, I know. Like you were telling, and you don't hear all this stuff. When we were watching, by the way, go Steelers because they won last night. When we were watching the game last night, and after the game, you said you don't hear about all the football protests anymore, do you?
Right?
No,
why not?
Yeah, because you weren't hearing that much about it before until Trump decided to stick his nose into the NFL, which I think I don't think that's, for the president to come out and make a statement. If he was being asked about it in an interview, he could give his own opinion on it. But all he wanted to do was rile up the whole country, and
his statement saying fire all those sons of bitches. That's what got the whole football controversy really on its head. Before that, there were football players kneeling, but you didn't hear any talk of it. There was no big deal made of it.
I mean, you can have your opinion on whether you're for it or against it, but my whole, people out there, you can be for it or against it, but my whole point is, where is all the controversy now? It's not even being talked about because he's not talking about it. Why did he want to get everybody so riled up about it? I think it's because he enjoys it. He enjoys all of this chaos. I've heard people say on the news who've worked, in the White House or behind the scenes that he enjoys this kind of internal chaos going on in the White House. When people were being fired and things like that. I don't know why. I don't know why somebody would like that, but I'm just going by what somebody else said that they feel like he enjoys this kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, and
I don't want to get into his mind. I don't want to.
I'm going to say it, because I'm going to say it because I believe it. Why did he call the football players sons of bitches? Okay, because majority of football players are African American. And the reason I say that or why he picked them, is because after he made the statement about the football players being sons of bitches and they shall be fired, he later tweeted, this kind of stuff doesn't happen in in baseball or hockey. Really? Mm-hmm. Well, baseball and hockey, to my knowledge, also isn't 90% black men.
Right.
So I really believe he is such a racist that racism carried over to, wait a minute, these are black men. Okay, so it was very easy for him to call them. I mean, if you could just picture Barack Obama, President Bush Senior, Junior, Clinton, no one can picture them standing up in front of a podium and saying and calling a group of men sons of bitches.
Well, this is the same man.
Try to picture it. You can't even picture it.
This is the same man who, in his presidential campaign said, I can be more presidential than any president. And I think that when you call these people names like that and things like that, where is being presidential? Because I don't know what he's comparing to or what his idea of presidential is. But if you go back, you didn't have, other presidents talking this way and
No,
saying,
never.
making the kind of
Never.
comments that he did, unless this
Never.
is the new presidential way. I don't know, but I'm just saying that to say I can be more presidential, when you make comments like that, you're not being, that's to me, that's not the place for the president to be making those kind of comments about people and calling them sons of bitches. That's not the way a president talks. So if you want to be, you can say that. You can say that behind if you want to, but if you make a comment that you can be more presidential, in my opinion, from past history, that I don't remember presidents talking that way. So I don't know what you want to base your acting presidential in. But if you want to base it on how all the other presidents have acted, whether you like them or not, they don't talk that way.
Well, I think the key word in his statement was act. I can act presidential. But you know what? He doesn't want to act any other way except who he is. And he has divided this country, by calling movie stars, singers, his own party, other senators in his own party names, calling the, leader of Korea, Rocket Man, little Rocket Man. All, you can go on and on about the names of all those people. He is our president. Mm-hmm. And if that doesn't divide this country, if you say the least little thing about Donald Trump, he will viciously attack you. Well, guess what? You're the president of all the people. Right. All the people, not just your little 31% left base.
You gotta have a thick skin, and there's that. He doesn't have a thick skin. He gets, as soon as somebody makes who's going to be more, looked at than the president of the United States. Everything they say, any president, everything they do is looked at under a magnifying glass. They're watching every movement, every word that's said. And, when you get into that job, you better be able to take the criticism. The problem is, he doesn't take, he can't take the criticism. He's just got to lash back, right away.
Because he's lived his whole entire life in Trump world. Mm-hmm. To yes people, yes, Mr. Trump. Yes, Mr. Trump. Oh, yeah, that's funny, Mr. Trump. Oh, yes, Mr. Trump. And now he thinks he can do it in the White House. But actually, so far, he has. And nothing happened. Nothing.
Well, we got 3 more years. 3 more years. I just kind of wait. I just wait for the, what's the next comment gonna be? And all of these people that are being, accused of, sexual misconduct. It's like, I mean, they're just coming out of the woodwork like crazy. I think that going back to the other conversation we were having about why he, isn't being, said, hey, you need to step down. We're developing now. I mean, the country is getting to the point where it's like now it's like zero tolerance for this kind of stuff because it's all being brought out there. But yet there's plenty of tolerance for him because he said, I didn't do any of that. That's the reason that.
Well, if the Senate wanted to start impeachment on him, under the 25th Amendment, he doesn't have to break the law, or because all they have to do, according to the 25th Amendment, is find him unstable as a president, mm-hmm. or, for lack of a better word, this man's kind of scary, just for his mindset, they could start impeachment, but they're not going to do it. They're so along their party lines. I'm not get voted in, next year again. But they could start impeachment on just what this man has done so far, just on his mental state. They could start impeachment procedures, but they're not going to.
Well, and that takes us to another whole subject that, I've said to you before. It's like, I'm one of these people that maybe it worked at one time, and maybe I'm not as educated on the parties as some people would be, but sometimes I think, maybe part of the problems is we need to dissolve the parties. People should be in there and just vote because that's what they feel. I love it when the president is giving the address to the union and he says something that, and that one whole side of the room sits down, and the other side, it's something that that we have a Republican president. It's something that the president is trying to get past. The whole the whole Republican side stands up. The Democratic side, nobody dares to stand up.
Not one thing he said.
And I'm not saying, and I'm talking about this because you can't tell me that you don't agree, with maybe a few of the things one of the presidents says. But no, they've got to stick to their party line instead of, just voting because that's what you believe. It's like, no, I'm voting because my party votes that way. My party.
I can't clap for a Republican president.
Right. Exactly.
Or vice versa.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, and this is why you have, I believe this is one of the reasons why everything in government takes so long every time you try to get something passed, or because it's all about the parties. It's not about what's right or not. It's not about what this individual might believe always, but I have to go along with my party. And I don't think that's the way it should work anymore.
Yeah,
because
eliminate both parties, and you run as yourself. And the country votes for you on you, not because you're a Republican, not because you're a Democrat. Right. Get rid of the parties. But
and we're all guilty of it. When I go to vote, I go right down the line of my party. I go right down the line.
I vote party. But to explain why, I do too, and so do my parents. There was a D by their name, they voted for him. I did too, but because the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are so different, and everything the Democrats stand for, so do I. Everything the Republicans stand for, I don't. So you begin to vote down party lines.
Exactly. Well, don't you think that like if you had your president, vice president you vote for, and your senator and your congressman, and don't you think that more people would try to learn? Okay, you see this, Bill Smith is running for Congress. Well, I don't know what party he's with. Maybe I'll take the time and listen a little bit more to what his views are on things. Instead, we're all, many of us are guilty of it. Well, he's a Democrat or he's a Republican, so I'm going to vote for him.
But I do think that if we eliminated parties, I think we would be able to tell in their heart, who would normally be a Democrat or Republican just by what they believe in.
Right, but my point is we would take more time instead of, when you get to the voting box, there's some of those people I'm like, well, I'm just going to vote my party. I'm not even sure what the guy stands for, but I'm just voting my party down the line. That's my point. Well, if there were no parties, you'd have to know a little bit more about each person. You'd want to take the time and learn about the senator and learn about this congressman.
Instead, I think you still end up voting. Like I say, I guarantee I would still vote for Democrats.
Right, but I'm saying during the presidential election, especially, the focus is put on the president, and that's where everybody. But then you have to vote you know, all the others. And people, I think, I mean, I'm guilty of it. You know, I vote down my party.
Well,
And
I don't think it's wait. I don't think it's a matter of anything. It's that when you vote Democrat, you might not know who John Doe is. He's running for senator this year. First time I ever heard of him in my state. Whatever. Okay, but he's a Democrat. Well, he's in alignment with every other Democrat. So he's not going to stand for anything that a Republican stands for. So it's not like being guilty of it.
well, but no, I also believe that if you're a party, that being that candidate, that I can't believe that there are some candidates that don't believe somewhat in what the other party on certain things. But now they can't speak up for that. Wait, speak up for that because they have to stick with their party. So I just think it would be better just to know a little bit more about each person is all I'm saying. And maybe that person has some mixed views on certain things, but they tend to just, this is what my party believes in. This is what I'm going. Come on, let's face it. Republican or Democrat, these people tell us what we want to hear. That's what makes a politician. They want to tell everybody what they want to hear. They're selling themselves. They want to sell themselves to the public. I don't care. I don't care what party you're at. They're going to sell the public.
Right, but they're going to try to get some of that agenda in. What they promised you as a candidate, they're going to try to get some of that legislation passed that they did promise you. And whether they will or not,
they're like used car sales. They get a much bigger paycheck, a pension, and a heck of a lot better benefits. But that's what they are. They're salespeople. They're selling their agenda, and they tell you what you want to hear. And it's not always. I don't care, Democrat. It's not always exactly what they believe. But they have to go along with their base. And they have to go along with their party so that it sells the idea.
I can actually think of probably 5 people right now that in my lifetime I knew, okay, because they said so. They had voted a certain way, a Republican way, because that Republican that was running, all they had to say is, I'm against abortion and I'm against gay marriage. Oh, didn't matter anything else. I'm voting for him. Because,
sure.
Okay, Roe versus Wade came into law in 1972, right?
Yeah.
So we've had several Republican presidents since 1972. And they all run on, no gay marriage and no abortion. We're gonna, they don't say they're gonna eliminate the law. They just, I don't like it. I don't like gay marriage. Okay, so they get all those votes. But since 1972, not one Republican president has ever even tried to change the abortion law. And instead of gay marriage going, backwards, this country, thank God, has, in so many states have accepted gay marriage. So we're never going to go backwards. We're never going to eliminate gay marriage where it's legal. Hopefully it'll expand to more states. We're never going to go back to 1972 and have, women killing themselves trying to give themselves abortions. But my point is, as long as a Republican stands up there when he's running for president and says, I'm against gay marriage and I'm against abortion, I know people that have literally voted for someone on those two.
Well, sure.
Those two.
I think a lot of people that don't, that they have certain things that's what they stick by. If this person is for this or that person for that, they don't really want to hear anything else. They just want to hear, a couple things that, this person's for Obamacare. Oh, they're not for Obamacare. Okay, that's it. They don't know anything else about it, but that's what they're going to vote on.
And speaking of Obamacare, there is, again, on day one, he said, on day one of being president, I will start getting rid of Obamacare. repeal and replace, right? Here we are a year later. Your own freaking party voted against you, idiot. Your own party voted against this crazy new Trump care that you tried to throw at us. Even your own party wouldn't vote for that. But on day one, he was going to replace and repeal Obamacare. He was going to start building that wall, even though Mexican president said, yeah, Mexico. Even though the Mexican president said "F you," and "F you," he literally said it. Not paying for it. Okay, who's going to build that wall? Who's building that wall? No one. Who's repealing and replacing Obamacare? Not Trump, because his own party didn't want to pass it. That's very rare too, that your party says F. But yeah, I mean, and when he did Obama, or turned it over to Trump care, tried to. These senators didn't even understand it. Did you read it? No, I ain't read it yet.
Well,
have you read it? No. Well, yeah, most of them did vote for it, but I think they knew there was going to be enough that wasn't going to vote for it, that they didn't worry about it.
How many of these people read all these bills anyway? There again, it comes down to the party. The party wants this bill passed, so they'll pass it. Half of them don't even read it, but they'll pass it because their party passed it. You know, their party wants it. So you ask them, and so many of them don't read a lot of these this legislation's going, or the bills that are going, you know, getting ready to be passed. But you know what? My party wants this bill, so I'll vote for it. Comes down to the same thing. You know, there again. I don't know. You know, this is the way that we've done it in a democratic society, is have the two parties, but sometimes it just, you know, I don't know if it's a good thing or not anymore, because it's just so split. And when you see that State of Union address, one half is sitting down and one half, you know, is standing up cheering, it's just like, there's our government and there's the nation totally divided right there. And of course, you're always going to have people that, you know, have their opinion and another side has opinion. But I think that's a pretty striking thing when you see them just sit down. They refuse to stand up. They refuse to clap. They refuse to do anything, because I'm not gonna stand out from my party. You know, I'm not gonna do that. I might even agree a little bit with that statement he just made, but no, the Democrats or the Republicans, no, we're all sitting down because our opposition party likes that, but we don't. So we're not going to, you know, stand up or clap or anything. I don't know what the best thing is, but it's obvious that, you know, we're not getting a whole hell of a lot done.
We're not getting nothing done. Nothing.
No,
we have a president that watches anywhere from 5. This is the White House saying it, and the staff of Mar-a-Lago, West Palm Beach, saying anywhere from 5 to 11 hours a day watching all the cable news channels. That's what he does.
I heard that today. Up to 11 hours of TV a day.
Yeah.
But yet
they say when he's at Mar-a-Lago, Florida, that he watches up to 11 hours a day of TV, because it's all about him, and he's such a narcissist. So when all these cable channels, they're talking about him, even though it's all negative, the narcissism in him is like, oh, it's all about me. He isn't running the country. He has over 200 seats that aren't filled in this country. Over 200 seats that he hasn't filled in his cabinet. That's never happened in the history of this country.
Makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, you know, all these seats that aren't filled, like, who's doing the job? And
no one.
I know no one's doing the job, because those seats aren't filled. So, you know, what's happening with all of those different things that, you know, important
and
things.
He isn't into the country. He's never been a patriotic man in any way, shape, or nothing. You know, and you know, and neither is his cabinet, because, you know, his press secretary Sarah Huckabee come out today or yesterday, or maybe the day before, one day this week, and she was on the White House lawn, and she was asked about, okay, they're opening up a civil rights museum in Alabama, right?
Mhm.
And the governor of Alabama is Republican. He invited Donald Trump to the ceremony. So there was quite a few men that said, if Trump is attending, I'm not. And one of those men is John Lewis. And I got to tell you this before I tell you what the ignorant press secretary said. So John Lewis, who's an older gentleman now, black gentleman, he was in the civil rights movement. He walked many times, with Martin Luther King.
Right.
He was arrested. He was beat up. He was almost killed for standing up for civil rights, right? And he's been senator, for like 40 years. Okay. So he was one of the men that said he was not attending the ceremony if Trump was going to be there. So Trump's press secretary was asked the next day by the press, what does the White House think about, John Lewis not wanting to show up at the Civil Rights Museum opening? And she said, well, he just doesn't understand. I'm talking about John Lewis. He just doesn't understand, that there were men and women who fought for this, and some of them died for the civil rights. He doesn't understand.
He was one of them.
He was one of them.
Right.
He was beat. He was thrown in jail for walking into a white man's bathroom. He was put in jail. He was beat almost to death. Okay, John Lewis. But what I'm saying is Trump and his cabinet are so ignorant to United States history. I don't know a lot about history. I spend all my time sleeping in history classes. I mean, seriously, it's like, wake me up. But I know more of the little that I know than our president or his cabinet. And if you don't know it, learn it. Don't come out and tell the country that John Lewis, one of our biggest civil rights activists, doesn't understand. You know why she said that? Because she doesn't know the history of the civil rights movement.
Yeah, well, you would think with something as important as that, or something that is in the news, that she would, kind of.
Well, you think Trump watching up to 11 hours a day of cable news? Oh, wait a minute, John Lewis. But I doubt if him and the press secretary even meet up that much. She just has to go out there a couple times a week and back up his lies and all that. But I mean, something so ignorant, and then as president, you've been a racist all your life. So why do you want to go to the ceremony? Why don't you just gracefully bow out of the ceremony? Thanks for the offer, but no. And let men like John Lewis, attend this opening and be a part of it, since he has been a part of it his whole life. No, he'll probably go there and talk about how great slavery was in front of a bunch of black people, because that's what he does. He'll make fun of Indians when he's in front of a bunch of, Native Americans. He did that.
Native American war heroes were instrumental in helping to end.
Was it the CIA wall? He stood in front of like months ago, and they have all them stars in the back, and that represents every CIA member that was murdered doing their job, right? And they don't want to give out the names so they put stars. He went there, and he's right in front of this wall of all these men and women that got murdered, okay, for this country. Never mentioned them. Never mentioned them. You know what he talked about? His inauguration, how many people were there. Never even mentioned, never turned around and acknowledged that wall of, murdered CIA. I think it was CIA. never mentioned all the people that lost their lives for this country, even though he's standing right in front of their memorial wall. So yeah, and then when he went in front of a Native American group, he talked about Warren. I can't think of her first name. Elizabeth Warren, and she put down years ago an application there. She was part Native American, so he's been calling her Pocahontas. So right in front of all these Native Americans, he referred to her as Pocahontas. Okay, you're making fun of, Mr. President, when you call someone Pocahontas. So would he go in front of, a group of African Americans and say something? Yeah, he would. He would.
Right. He's making a slur at the Native American. When
So
they're sitting.
Go ahead.
No, I mean when he's these were war heroes. They helped to bring World War II to an end, and yet he refers to her as Pocahontas, which is a slur, and it's insulting to the Native American.
Yeah.
He didn't care, or he just I don't know. He's just I don't know, but
no, he's the most ignorant, uneducated president we've ever had. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter.
You don't like him? You don't like him?
No, I do not like him. And I remember when President Bush Sr. was president. I didn't like him as president. I didn't want him to be president, but I respected him. I respected him. He was our president, even though he's a Republican. But with Trump, no, he's not this country's president. He's a divider. He's a narcissist. He's a racist. He's every bad thing. He stands for everything bad. So no, he's not my president. And it's not because he's a Republican. First of all, I don't even think of him as a Republican.
Yeah.
No. But no, I mean, I've respected, Bush Sr., Bush Jr. I didn't vote for him. I didn't want them as president, but I respected them. I respected the office. And it's pretty hard to respect the office of Trump.
And on that note,
we're gonna
have to
say goodnight.
And I gotta go. And so
there's many things that don't get us started, and we'll talk about them maybe next week. Next Monday, 6:00.
Next Monday.
You have
we'll have another week of total frustration to vent.
I'm sure. Always.
We're just venting.
And we hope that we're vent. Well, I hope that with the average, we're just average people. But the average people are asking about and venting about, and I hope you get involved and ask us some questions or disagree with us. But I hope you come back next Monday at 6:00 to listen.
You don't have to agree. This is the two of us that we just vent.
That's right.
Found that sometimes we would be talking, and guess what? We'd be saying, hey, that's what we were just talking about. See, other people feel the same way. And there's going to be tons of people that don't feel the same way. And like you said, educate us on it. Because we're just here to vent. We're not saying we're right. We're just here to vent.
No, wait a minute. On some things, I'm saying I'm right.
Well,
Trump is an ignorant, uneducated president.
Okay.
My opinion.
Okay.
So I'm right. Right?
Okay.
All right.
And on that note, we're going to say good night, and we'll be here next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye. Bye.